Good morning and welcome back to the Explicit Measures podcast with the one, the only, the Tommy, Mr. Mad Biker Man, Seth Bauer, and Mike Carlo.
Ooh, the Mad Biker Man.
The Mad Biker Man.
Yeah, we talked on our previous episode,
today?
I believe, that Tommy just got his bike back. It's like Stella got her groove back, but Tommy got his bike back. So Tommy has a bike. He's now pedaling like mad now these days, and we're back on track now.
Happy Tuesday, gentlemen. Happy Tuesday.
It is a Tuesday.
I didn't want to say anything because
You couldn't. You gotta figure out if we know what's going on here. This is a pre-recorded episode, so it's a little harder to figure out what day it is really that we're actually recording on. So it makes it a bit more challenging. But we gotta let Seth pull his weight on the Tuesdays.
It's a hot take episode. Start the episode. Is it Tuesday? Yes, it's Tuesday.
Sure, let's go.
Tuesday for all of you that are just joining us the couple of minutes late.
Excellent. Today we're going to take a little. We've done some of these in the past. We're going to jump right into our main topic for today. In the past, we've done some of these. If you have $100, what do you invest in? Where do you put your time, effort, and/or money as a program manager or the lead inside Microsoft? What do you do to improve, either Power BI or something like that? I think in the past we've done, you're given $100, you distribute that money however you want, and that $100 then gets distributed to, build a feature like this or improve desktop or adding Deneb to the desktop as a, base features, whatever the things you want are. So today we're going to go through and we're going to take that same approach. We're going to get $100, but we're going to spend it on things inside Fabric. Where would we spend our development time and or money inside Fabric? What would we improve? How would we refine the program or the software as it stands today? So, anything else you'd want to add, Tommy, for the setup? That's kind of the setup for today.
Yeah, I think we've done these before. Just we're going to throw $100. Where would we invest if we were running Fabric? Where would we put the money and time for people to work on things? So pretty open-ended. So
I'm always confused on how we always do this one, or what's the best way. Do we do one person at a time and you give us all of the numbers at once, or do we just do one item each time and kind of discuss each one as we go?
I think we do one at a time.
Okay, let's do one at a time. Can we go in order of largest dollar amount to smallest dollar amount? Is that what you want to do? You want to go from smallest? Let's go to smallest to biggest, right? The smallest investments and then up to the largest ones through the end of the episode.
Sure.
That way, maybe we have one person by the end of it.
I think we could do that.
We could do anything we want to. That sounds like
that's true. It's our podcast. We can do whatever we want. All right, Tommy, kick us off. Let's give me your lowest. Let's start from lowest dollar amount investment, and we'll go towards the higher one. So start with your lowest dollar amount investment, and we'll go from there, and we'll work our way up.
So my first one is going to be at $10. Put it in the bank. It's going to be for better lineage. The lineage feature is not bad, but as Mike and I have seen, if you're going from a data flow to a lake house, there's for whatever reason no connection.
Yep.
There's to be some discrepancies. I need a better UI, but I need those connections between not just what's in my Fabric artifacts, but also that connection from, let's say, a data flow to a SQL database to the lake house to the SQL server, and then everything else. So right now, it's such a huge and important feature, especially with so many components being created.
Yeah,
you need a better way to look at it.
I like that idea. It's a good one.
I like that idea too.
That's actually on my list as well. So I'll dovetail on that one. I have some other ideas or thoughts around that one, but I'll actually add that one as well.
My cheapest one for $10 is give me dark mode.
Oh man,
and there is too much white going on. It blinds me. It's very washed out right now.
Yeah, that's true.
It feels like get it out the functionality, get it out the door, kind of preview implement AI. Just give me some dark mode. The rest of everything I can do is in dark. Let me stay in the dark.
Hilarious.
Well, Seth does work in a basement. No, you used to work in a basement. You no longer do. I work in a basement now.
Look in the mirror, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the one who worked in the basement. So if anything, dark mode would be great for me because I could actually work here in the dark for once. Yeah. Awesome. So I'll start off here with I think this is my cheapest feature here. I'm going to throw $5 around this is maybe a bit too niche at this point, but I'm going to throw $5 at making sure they synchronize more of the features around Power Query Gen 2 with Power
Ooh.
Query Gen 1.
Okay.
One of the features that I'm really looking forward here is I know incremental refresh. I think it was announced on the roadmap that it might be coming, but incremental refresh around data flows Gen 2, I think would be really good. I don't know how it would actually synchronize this effort. Like, I mean, let me say it this way. Desktop Power Query is different than Fabric Power Query Gen 2, which is different than Data Flows Gen 2, Data Flows Gen 1. So there's like 3 flavors that I can see around Power Query. I would love the whole entire Power Query engine to be more synchronized and have the same experience between what's happening in desktop, what's happening in Gen 2, and what's happening at Data Flows Gen 1. So I don't know how they synchronize all that work together. I like where they're going with things, but I need some more help there. I think I want to simplify that experience a bit more.
So you just want they see it like basically some version control to say, hey, I'm in the Power Data Flows Gen 1, but it's version 9 and
not really. Like the UI looks different in all 3 of them. There's like little differences in each one. You know, desktop looks like very old. It's not as polished as what you see inside the service. You don't have like I think in desktop you don't have the blocks, like the block diagrams of like, okay, do this transformation, then this one, then this one. It's just different. And I want it all to be kind of like be the same bits or code be under the hood. Because I want that experience to be the similar experience across all Power Query experiences.
So just syncing up the UI.
Yeah, or making sure like all the, you know, if I have a function or a feature that's in one of them, that should be in all of them, right? If I have a connector in desktop that's not in the service, or if I have a connector that's in the service that's not in desktop, they should all be there. I want all of it, all the things.
And how much do you put into that?
$5.
Okay.
It might take a while. We'll put the intern on that one. All right, Tommy.
This is a good one. I do have a few on data flows, but I am definitely saving those.
Okay.
So I have 4 more, but I'm going to quickly go through the next one. It's the same $10 as the lineage. It's cost management. Right now we have the template file that they create for looking at where like you're monitoring your costs and your the activity. I want to know much easier rather than going into Power BI report, able to look at one of my artifacts like a data flow run to see what was the cost of that particular run, and not based on a Fabric ID or some convoluted way in that template report, which I even myself don't own because it's a live connection. So I really can't even own that monitoring data.
Yep.
But I want to know, hey, this lake house, because of these runs and these tables, this is where the usage and this is where the cost is going.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I want to pick on you there a bit. Where the cost is going, are you just talking about more of like where the consumption is coming from? Because
So
because Power BI is a bit different than like you do in like Azure, because it's not really consumption based. You kind of buy capacity and you kind of get what you get.
I'll make a metric to so cost, but no, it's looking at the consumption, like just like the premium capacity.
Yeah.
That will show me not just the volume, but what percentage am I taking up of my capacity.
I feel like that's a really good metric. And I feel like you also would want something that says, here's my congestion time, right? Here's the time, you know, these refreshes are occurring this time in the morning. It's congested. Yeah. You may want to not do that, or, you know, have it be smart enough to figure out, hey, I would love for it to be like, there's AI all over the place. Why can't AI figure this out? Hey, look, I've got 1,000 data sets that are refreshing on a capacity. Have them all done. Set the delivery time. What time does that data set need to be refreshed by? Let Power BI figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, hey, data needs to be done by 6 a.m. It can't start any earlier than midnight. Okay, Power BI. It goes into a queue of all these other things that need to be refreshed overnight. Figure it out. I don't care what you do.
I may put a little more than $10 into that with the AI. That's a great idea.
That's an intern thing. Just let an intern do that one.
Just give me the basics, man.
I want more than basics, because I'm going to dovetail, and I would throw 20 at this. I would throw 20 at the same thing, because, well, administration and processing of the different compute types and the costs associated to those, right? Like, organizations spend so much time trying to figure out Azure costs, tagging clusters, figuring things out, aligning like, hey, where are all these, you know, things spooling up. And now you have an environment where we're mixing
Nothing's
all of
tagged.
that together
Yeah.
onto the same fabric capacity. So it's really important for us to understand what's ETL,
Yep.
what's storage, even though not much. What is the consumption that's happening because of report usage or report refresh or whatever the case may be. And the fact of the matter is like you really should have better like usage and projection modeling of like, hey, are you optimizing things? Is your usage, appropriate? Like blah blah blah. Like there's so many things that they could do with that ecosystem to make it easier on understanding costs that I think it would benefit them as it relates to people being able to project out and understand like, hey man, we want to
Yes.
spool up this service. We know it's going to cost X. Here's how we plan that through, et cetera. Whereas on the flip side, because it's so hard to navigate through these spaces, finance departments are extremely still like, what do you mean you don't understand? Like, what do you mean you can't give us an estimate? Well, like, let me go try to set up this environment. And the minute somebody grabs this tag up, we missed that. And now we have to figure out like where this, it's a nightmare. $20 for sure. The other thing I would like to do in here is add something related to billing per BU, right? Because all this is workspace driven.
Ooh, I like this.
If I have to share a capacity across
Billing
the
per
different
domain.
workspaces, yeah,
Per domain or whatever the domain thing is, like group
how
them all together. Here you go.
How do I like not only understand my usage, but hell, give me an automated way to say, I now have these two business units that are sharing capacity. Whatever the usage of this capacity is in a percentage, that is how you bill them.
Yep. Yeah. Makes total sense.
Really good.
I like that one. So I think I underspent on this one. My enterprise customers would not be happy with my $5 I'm allocating towards the admins. And I literally called it like admin stuff, right? It's
stuff.
And I wasn't even thinking your guys' direction on like, I literally like the idea of like, billing per workspace or per domain. So I can like back charge other groups. I was thinking more around admin and administration things around, just better integration. So we have APIs that give you data today, but it's just kind of like an API that just dumps out information to you. You have to do a lot of work on your side to kind of get it all together. And even when you get all the data, nothing matches. Each part of the system that is Power BI, the API spit out all kinds of weird new activity events. There's new properties. There's like, it's very inconsistent of like, what information do you get from that? And so when you try to make a consistent data set from all the data that comes out of a single API, it's all over the board. You've got to merge columns. You've got to make up new things that merge multiple things together. Data that was captured in one column is not captured in a different column. There's two columns that do the same thing with different names. It's weird stuff. I get it. There's a lot of different teams working in Power BI, and they're all trying to send data somewhere. So there's probably some kind of consistency issue there on their side. But as I look back on this going, man, I would like to spend more time making that a consistent experience and make it easier for me, an administrator of Power BI, to get that data together. So that's kind of why I was thinking about admin stuff.
So really just the UI, just grouping things a little better, or they're actually features then? Because
I'm talking about like the API the way it is today, kind of is a grab bag of information.
Yeah.
I would like it to, so what I really would like here from the admin stuff I'm talking about is I'd like it just to be able to say, look, I'm going to turn on a knob or two inside Power BI and say, here's my storage account. Just put the data here and then just do it. Like, I don't want to build data flow pipelines. I don't want to build, a fabric. I just want to say, hey, this is where I care about putting my data, whether it's logging data from the actual workspace, right? The analysis services, right? Because you can turn on, Azure Audit Logs or whatever that is, the analytics logs. You can turn those on. Hey, just put it here. I could have a knob that I can just turn on, boom, and it just starts sending data, and it just arrives where I want it. It shows up right there, and then I figure it out from there, and I'll pick it up and build what I want to build on top of it.
And probably getting easier access to your server settings, your XML endpoints.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
It needs to be more of a consolidated experience, I think, in my opinion. It's good. It does a good job, but, in larger organizations, I think it gets more unwieldy to manage all the different things that you have going on, and it just makes it harder. So I'd like a little bit more simplicity around the administration of collection of data, as well as easier ability to pull more data together in one spot.
And I think to some degree they've started that, right?
Yes.
Like if you look at just the and what I'm thinking about in the top of my head is like the workspace administration,
Yes.
right? As a global admin, like you can see
Yes.
all of the workspaces and like finally select them all and add yourself as an admin, right?
Yes.
To understand like
Yep.
are people using this? What's going
Correct.
on?
Yep.
Like, what problems are we having, etc. Or all these people don't realize we have a capacity that I can assign this to, and they're
Yes.
assigning pro licenses to people, and they shouldn't. Like,
Exactly. Could be that too. Yeah, a little bit more. I mean, I should be able to control that a bit more as an admin. Or,
right.
I really do want to not have people have personalized workspaces. I don't want the My Workspace to be there because we tell people to not share content from it, but they still do it anyways. So even though we have a policy,
I think by
even though
default, I think that just gets spooled up by default, though.
it does. There's the only way I'm aware of you can like disable it is you have to kind of hack it a little bit. You have to turn on an Azure A capacity, assign inside the admin portal to say every new user who gets added as a pro user gets automatically added to a premium workspace, and then you have to disable or pause the workspace or pause the premium.
No way
So there's like a hack.
Wow.
So you have to like turn on a premium, and you have to attach by default every new user created is automatically attached to that capacity. And then you pause the capacity, meaning it then shuts it off basically for everyone. So it's a little bit backwards, but I feel like as an admin, especially for new organizations, right? Ones that are just starting out, that's not features I would want just to hide and get rid of right away day one. I want it to not be there.
It sounds like somebody thought outside the box creatively too.
And just for $5.
Problem.
Just for $5. That solution was free for you right there. You don't have to worry about that one. That was a $0 investment right there. All right, Tommy, we'll go back over to you. I think you're at $30 so far. You did lineage and admin for 20.
Cost for 10. So now we're up in our game right now.
Or sorry, you're 10 for admin is right.
Yep. So we're at 20 right now. We're going to up it to $25, and this is the UI in Fabric.
So you're spending $25 on this on this feature.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. About a quarter of 100.
Big spender,
unless I'm mistaken.
Okay.
So I'm spending $25 on the UI in Microsoft Fabric, looking at workspaces, the organization of the amount of artifacts getting created.
I know what you want. You want a folder.
I want a folder.
You want $25 for a folder
or my own custom user. Seriously. I want my things organized if I want to go from Lake House down to all the other artifacts. Right now, Mike, if you look at our training workspace.
Oh, it's a mess. It's already a mess.
It's a mess.
And there's automatically random things being spooled up in this whatever, data flows workspace lakehouse thing that just kind of gets automatically created. That's supposed to be hidden, but it's not really hidden. It's actually there. And I'm like, what is that doing there? I don't really know why that's showing to me. Yeah, I'm with you, Tommy. Creating a lakehouse should not require me to have 3 objects automatically created at once.
And then the amount of objects you need to create if you want to keep doing things. So let's see. And I have a workspace here. I have 3 working lake houses. I have one from doing a demo.
Yep. Which creates 9 assets.
Yes, exactly.
Which is ridiculous.
So a lake house creates 3. A data flow creates 3. That's 6. What do you say?
I would also argue, I feel like Tommy, you and I have had this conversation. I don't know if it was on the podcast or when we were doing the training stuff we've been doing earlier around Fabric. I agree with you, Tommy, and I think the lake house should have 3 icons. And it should have more settings. Like the lakehouse should be one line item inside the workspace. And if you have a SQL endpoint, or if you have, so there's a SQL endpoint that goes with it, and there's a data set goes with it, just make them different icons on the same, it's all the same lakehouse. I'm not building a SQL server. I'm not bringing a provisioned SQL server into that thing. It's literally just borrowing Microsoft. So it's in my opinion, yes, it's a SQL endpoint. It's just a SQL endpoint on top of the lakehouse. So just give me it's one item. It's a lakehouse, and I can access it via a data set, a SQL endpoint, or going straight to the files and the tables.
And for my lakehouse and subfolders, count how many objects are there and bring back colors to icons. I can't take it. I don't know what they are when you're looking at a lakehouse. Everything's white. So no, the UI is the huge part for whether it's folders, some organization that way. And then I wish it was even a better experience going in and out of artifacts. Like if I'm going through in a data flow just to make sure or test something to see if, what query that is, or a pipeline or notebook, still a lot of loading, a lot of tabs opening up. Again, something like VS Code.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good point.
Really upping the UI, especially if we're just testing things out and we're not doing anything business critical right now or enterprise. How many artifacts is that going to create?
That's a really good point. I like the folders idea. I like being able to group things. Would it also be relevant, Tommy, for you to hide things in there as well?
1000%. Like, yeah.
Like just
folders.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I don't know, maybe hiding is making sense, but something I don't need all these objects, or I don't want everyone to, I don't know, maybe that doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Give me some custom views on the top ribbon that I can create myself.
Yeah, maybe.
So
interesting. I like that feature. Seth, on over to you. I think we did. I forgot your first feature, Seth. That was $10 for what was it?
Dark mode.
Oh, dark mode. Yeah. And then administration for 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hot taking switching things up.
Okay.
But this one is very real near term. A really heavy frustration. So I'd throw $30 right at it right now to just give it to me.
Yeah.
Allow me to use Fabric in central US region, because that's where all of my big production data is and where I maximize the use of this in my organization. and I can't.
Yeah.
Because for organizations that have like multiple tenants,
yeah,
you're stuck with multiple different Power BI instances.
Yep.
Right. Like which I don't know how to throw money against is kind of this ancillary, like I've got to figure out what if I have a one lake in two different tenants and I need to start interacting with data across these things. I don't know what that's like yet, or I haven't been able to vet or test because once again, central region not supported.
So getting access to your data and all the things that you already built.
I can just move my Power BI tenant to one that is supported. So
that's a true statement too.
That kind of sucks.
Do they say where central US is kind of based out of? Is that like the Iowa area? I mean, I know there's north central US, which is more like Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Yeah. And then central US is just more like the Plains area.
I think so, yes.
And then there's like south central US, right? Which is like Texas. There's like some data centers down there or something.
All I know is
we know things.
Tenant set up in place.
Just give me central.
Can't really like kick the tires on things until you support it there.
That makes sense.
Sure.
Maybe this is and again, I'm trying to give them a little credit here. I feel like this is one that they're going to fix when they get to GA.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Because that would be like, hey, we're just gonna roll it out in some data centers that we actually have some space for this stuff.
Yep.
Get the bits working during preview. Okay, we're getting closer to GA. Then you'll start seeing it appear in other regions as well. Is that kind of what you're?
It absolutely is that. Yeah,
makes sense. I like that one as well. $30 for that one. Wow.
Well, dude, like it's one thing to kick around the tires, right? But to actually, one of the biggest challenges that we've had, even in talking and discussing, is understanding like what are the costs going to be on this? Like how do I throw a workload at something and not be able to test it out, right? Like how do I get max usage? Like right now in the preview is where you want to be bashing it against your production data sets in a dev environment, right? Mm-hmm. To see what those trade-offs are going to be. And like when you can't do that because your entire ecosystem is bound to a region, right? Then the preview doesn't allow you to do that. So you're playing catch up behind, other organizations that may have data in those. And it's like we're not in a position where could I move data sets and like incur additional cost? Like no, not at the volumes that we're talking.
No. Yeah. Would you? So, I'm not sure. I know they're changing things. Have you checked recently? So the preview of Fabric probably won't let you pick wherever you want, right? So if you're you're going into PowerBI.com and you're saying
like spool up an actual F capacity or something.
Well, again, it's more cost, right?
No, but I want to say no, because it's bound to the Power BI tenant, right? So those Fabric features are not available to me. Like I can't connect to any of the lake, any of the SQL warehouse. Like those
Oh,
don't even light
yeah.
up in that tenant
Yeah.
at all. So they're not available. It shows me that everything's Fabric green now, right?
Yeah.
It shows that I have like the different UI, but all the core components of connecting to and utilizing any of the big new things that we're combining in terms of Lakehouse, One Lake, notebooks, that whole experience is not available.
Gotcha. Awesome. I like that one. It's a good one. I don't think I would need the heavy lean on the central US region. So I think I'm up to spending some more money now.
Hopefully.
Finally. I'm going to be the slow. I'm trying to divide it probably a little bit too many times here, but I'm going to throw $10 at syncing the data pipelines experience in Fabric. So Fabric has pipelines, which is essentially Azure Data Factory. There's just a lot of data sources or locations of information that are missing from the full Azure Data Factory experience. Again, this is one of these things where I feel like they've kind of divided the code between the different environments that they've built for Azure Data Factory. So there's Azure Data Factory, there's Synapse, and now there's Fabric. And all of them seem to be similar, like where they've taken the root code base of Azure Data Factory pipelines, and they've kind of like watered it down a little bit for each of the different environments. Maybe there's a lot of investment to get it in parity, but I think I would spend another $10 of trying to keep synchronizing the parity between ADF, Synapse, and the Fabric pipelines experience. So that way, if I'm developing in ADF or Fabric, the experience is identical. I have the same connectors, I have the same options. There are some really interesting features, administration features that come out of the Azure Data Factory space that are not in Synapse, and then they're not also in pipelines inside Fabric. So I'd like to see those features be brought over, so that way the Fabric pipeline experience matches the same experience I would get with Azure Data Factory. Azure Data Factory.
You're all about syncing everything up.
Well, let me bring it this way. I'm used to building things in Data Factory. I'm used to building things in Synapse, and so when I see new, I have this tainted experience of I've already experienced these tools, like when they have been developed and they've been matured for years in these other platforms, these other areas. So when I walk into Fabric, I'm like, my opinion right now is, from a business user, the Fabric experience is great. It greatly enhances the business user's experience because I'm giving them two things they've never had before. They've never had pipelines and they've never had notebooks. These are two great data engineering tools that help you really build that ETL. However, if I'm coming at Fabric from a data engineering perspective, I'm going, where's all my features? Where's all the stuff I used to be using? Like, why would I come over to Fabric and have less features than what I was already using in Azure Data Factory or Databricks? Like, I already have solid data engineering tools. What's the story for me to move over to Power BI? And I think, to me, that's the gap that needs to be closed, right? I feel like of the two personas, the business user is getting a better deal because they're getting a whole bunch of tools they've never had that are enterprise grade, whereas the data engineer is actually getting a watered down version of data engineering tools that they used to have, but now they're getting less features. So I think the story is less compelling as you bring the data engineers to Power BI. I think it'll get better, but right now it seems like it's a little bit less compelling. Does that make sense what I'm kind of saying there?
Mm-hmm.
If this is only the $10 and $5 for this huge,
you wait.
I cannot.
You wait till my $30. You wait till my $30.
My goodness.
All right. Tommy, I think back over to you.
Yep. So we're going to do another 25. So that should.
Whoa.
Yes. So that
big spender.
Bring us to, I believe that, what would that bring us to?
20, your last 25 was UI and Fabric.
Yeah. So that would bring us to 70.
Yep.
And this one is a kind of a quick little add-on to, based on something that you said, Mike. So it's tools, it's external tooling, application awareness, and going along with this piece is kind of related. I think Fabric is going to be more and more for collaboration, not between tenants and teams and consultants and people like Mike. You and I have been trying to build a lakehouse. I can connect to your workspace, but I have my own, like my tenant's domain. I can't connect to your lakehouse.
We've seen some very weird behavior between a guest user. Yeah, exactly right. Guest user inside a Fabric workspace can't quite access all the the core elements of that workspace. I don't know if it's a bug or whatnot, but when it pulls things Tommy owns inside a workspace that is in Fabric, it keeps pulling things from Tommy's tenant, like the lake house. Like, hey, I'm trying to connect this data flow to a lake house. It's not connecting to the lake house that he's a part of in the Power BI Tips tenant. It's actually connecting to his lake house that's in his own tenant. It's trying to grab data or land data there.
Very strange.
Which is very odd. But it's, I mean, it makes sense because he's using the credentials of his, you know, his other email address, right? His email address is coming from his other tenant.
Yeah, but but it's got to have guest user access in AD, right?
I can do everything in the Power BI Tips tenant in the workspace in the Fabric. So I can create a lake house, but when I log in, he can
create stuff. He can't write data to it, though.
I say, hey, connect to a data flow or push to a lake house. What it shows me is my Poolia BI
lakes
items.
Right. So one of the things that is interesting to me is, what is the experience for that user if somebody shares something with you from that Power BI tenant?
Right now, no.
I don't know if we've actually tested that exact thing. So for example,
one of the biggest challenges we've had, because we have multiple, right?
Yes.
Is originally we wanted to basically share Power BI stuff in the Power BI service with the same experience to external users. It's all URL based. It's all like you share this where you always have to reference that URL. There's no such thing as apps, whatever.
Yes.
So it's interesting to me that as you're talking about an external user, which you can't, like in other parts of Azure, you absolutely can, right?
Yep.
Like if you want to access people with this different domain can come into
no problem.
They can do whatever they want to.
Yep.
Like, so if this is now stretching the bounds, like there's going to be a conflict there where they can work with all these elements within Power BI, but then you can't share things with them. It'd be an interesting one.
It is pretty. It's getting there. I think there's going to be such a need for it. That's why I put so much. In all the training we've done with cross tenant, I've created a lake house. I've created a data flow and I've done all the things. But there's some weird login issues, and then I probably will want to work on some of the tables, some of the items, and an external tool. And some advanced features. Right now, you're right. Everything's URL based. This kind of goes to Mike's one too with the admin. If I need to get a connection to an artifact, I shouldn't have to like always find that setting, especially if I'm collaborating across tenants.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned external tools. Were there any particular tools that 25? So this is, I think, let me just articulate the feature back to you so make sure I understand what you're saying. Better integration with external tools and or better security around adding guest users to artifacts that inside Power BI.
A bit one and the same. There's the cross collaboration, and with that ability with the external tools, I kind of combined it because you made me think of it.
Oh,
I was like,
got it.
Oh yeah, but I needed to give it the shout out. The external tools side of this is I'm working with other tenants and other companies, being able to. Right now with a warehouse, right? You can create views, office. You can create a SQL database with the views and tables. Easy integration, help manage their data flows. That would be amazing to set that all up for them.
So you're talking about like something. Let me keep it because I'm not hearing a tool yet.
Yeah.
Are you talking like this is like a VS Code plugin that you would use to say, I'm going to write out this data flow. I'm going to write out these things and help connect to a customer's tenant and push more things. Is that what you're thinking? Or what's the external tool that we're talking about?
We still don't have in Power BI Desktop the ability to switch accounts. I have to still sign out and then sign in with another user in Power BI Desktop.
Yeah, but that's not an external tool. I'm driving for what is the external tool that you're looking for?
I'm looking for something where I can manage the items and artifacts in Fabric, data flows, data sets modeling, and I can switch across accounts seamlessly.
Okay.
Fabric, there's this new setting that I think Grayskull Analytics in the UK just showed. You can now do read and write on XMLA for Fabric items.
Okay.
So we're getting there, but give me something where rather than having 4 systems open and 4 browser windows, making sure I have the URLs and the right sign-in information. Let me be able to manage all this in one place.
Okay. I still don't hear an external tool. I just hear surface. I hear like access points for external tools that potentially would be there. You don't have in your mind an external tool that you really care about. You're just saying, give me more access to these things and the artifacts, the things that are in Power BI so that people could build external tools and
Exactly.
do more automated movements or manipulation of stuff in Power BI.
For example, I would really not want to create another measure in the service and a default data set, as you've seen.
It broke horrendously on a live stream. That was awesome. That was really fun.
It is the worst experience. You were right that desktop was going to be in the cloud. I was right. It was going to be terrible to create measures.
I'm not, metrics wasn't so hot either when it first came out.
No,
So I think we need to give them some time to refine this.
We were writing the measures and they would disappear on us.
We would try and hit enter and it would be like, sorry, error. And then it was saying things were locked. I'm like, what is going on right now? We have no clue.
Gold data sets are going to have more than 3 measures in it.
Yes.
There has to be a better way.
I think to that end, right, to be editing things in the service, right, that was a big boon. And I think this whole idea of like having the data model always be immediately updated to whatever, like it's automatically auto saving everything. I think somehow that creates some sort of locking experience. And if you have 2 people trying to edit the same data set, no way. It's just not going to.
That would be a problem because
that would be a problem.
Who do you know? Like, it's a workspace. Everybody's working in the workspace.
That's the point, right? Multiple people. Right? Yeah, you could have multiple people editing the same stuff. So I think a better experience would be more of what they do inside Synapse, where you are on a branch and you're committing things, you're checking things in.
But that would be too code centric.
I know. Low code people, low code.
Let me check out and let me use a tool to create a measure where I know it's not going to hide on me.
That's true.
So.
All right. Tommy, you're up to $70. Seth, you are up to $50, $60. What's your next?
Since I know you increment in very small numbers, I'm going to shoot all of the rest of my shot.
Oh wow,
$40.
$40.
Whoa,
this better be great.
It's what I call AI innovations / Copilot, right?
Oh,
so one, I would love to see some non-Figma demos coming here pretty soon across the board.
Okay.
One of where my mind goes with the AI innovations above and beyond, just like the Copilot experience, would be things that Wyn Hopkins is exploring with ChatGPT and other AI transform tools, where he's getting very verbose in data connecting and cleansing. Right? If you haven't checked out some of his stuff, like do it. He's showcasing that AI is essentially connecting to data sources, like understanding the fundamental breakdowns of like why something's not clean or why the data is not coming together, the data types, there's issues with the data. And there's so much there, right? We've talked a lot about where is a fundamental core problem with business intelligence in general. It's bad data in source systems. So if I can use AI to connect to these sources, and you do that, like another great example that we're experiencing, again, you connect to Salesforce.
Yep, exactly.
Salesforce is a system that allows business people to create databases or tables of information that will span 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 columns because they have no idea how to manage it. They just add another column, add another column, add another column.
And that's the advantage of that system. That's what they want you to do.
Crap show, right?
Yeah.
Right. But in terms of like leveraging systems that could rip through here and say, yep, none of this is used anymore. Here are the columns that you need. Here's what's missing. Can I associate that to a business owner? Or say, hey, like in our analysis of this data, like think about all the ways you could automate a lot of this ticky-tacky, like I don't understand why this doesn't align, our numbers are wrong, et cetera, just in that first layer, right?
Yeah.
And then we've already seen, pseudo demos or demos of Copilot where as a coding experience, somebody's trying to do transforms. I think that whole experience could get a lot easier for business users as they're like, hey, okay, now I have my data. I need to, compile and transform this. Are we to the point where, if you describe things, it could do those transforms and the output of that would be a model, right? Can you conform things to a model that you could easily engage in as opposed to you having to build those things? And then like in the pie in the sky, like go build my report kind of thing in Power BI, we've seen pictures of. Would love to see that eventually. But I think a true end-to-end would be, the tooling that would allow individuals who know how to put in the right inputs to build the whole thing end to end, right? I don't think that's off the table at all, based on just the compartmentalized and componentized ways, and I've seen people using AI already. That I think the investment there just speeds up the not only the time to market to solve business problems, but at the same time, like actually build out the infrastructure that is can be reused for many other reporting purposes. And that's the value here, is like,
Yeah, I
we
agree.
have these systems that can help facilitate and speed that whole process up of the actual engineering of things. And sky's the limit, right?
I like that one. I think that's a good feature as well. And the AI Copilot thing has the potential for doing lots of really rich things. I do find people already using ChatGPT to help them write measures to some degree, but I mean this spans way more than just writing measures. I really like your AI around, hey AI, here's a table of data. Tell me where there's inconsistencies in this data, and it should just rip through a whole bunch of columns of data coming out of these systems and saying, here's where we find there are problems. Here's where you should focus your attention. And if those columns don't mean anything to you, then okay, fine, we ignore them and move on.
Yeah, you should check out Wyn Hopkins' recent videos and stuff. Like the things he's doing.
I've seen
right
him
now
posting that stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What's his YouTube channel or his? He's got a YouTube channel.
Most of it on LinkedIn,
and he's doing the
Links
videos right there.
Yeah, let me grab that.
Well, and it's not just that. I think there's a few, like, what's that command line tool, DBT?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just saw an announcement for that one. I'm a little leery on DBT. I've seen it a couple places. I've heard some customers asking about it and trying to incorporate it in their workflow. On one hand, I like what it's doing. On the other hand, I'm like, well, is this just the same thing that I would automatically get or would be able to build already in Azure with all the other? So I don't like the mindset of just adding other tools just to add other tools. Like I need a really solid purpose behind it. And is it really solving a large enough technology gap of what I already have? Right. So it's, DBTs around composable data architectures and reusable components and defining these things. Like,
yeah,
I get it. But don't we already have that? Isn't there something already there that is also doing this stuff already today? So I'm not sure if I'm totally sold yet that is the way to go yet. I'm cautiously holding my breath, I guess. I'll say it like that.
Well, yeah, and I don't know that they're doing a lot with that, but just even the data modeling, to your point, Seth, and it's not just Chat GPT, chat like, hey, look at my model.
Yeah,
it's the what is the LLMs? They're like the large
language models.
Yeah. The ability for that to quickly go through. Obviously, data models are not nearly as complicated as what some of the things that it's doing now, and try to identify. Think about it. Try to identify primary keys. Try to identify a few things that you add in. I mean, that's going to be a huge way from a creation. Seth, do you see any way from a consumer point of view with the AI, or is it really just like the development, the build?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because you were focusing a lot on the development experience as opposed to the consumer side.
Yeah, but what is the consumer side of reporting? I think, well, in general, could you utilize AI much better in the features where I can ask a question, right? Like right now, we have to custom build all of the synonyms and everything within a model for the keywords and everything to show up appropriately for the model to be able to produce the right results for the end user, right? Could AI simplify that experience without all of that? I think so, right? Because it's just, do I have the data within this model to produce the results for my end user that is asking about it, right? Because that's the same thing. Like it's a data set. AI is just bolted onto a data set, whereas like ChatGPT, it's not the most recent data set, right? It's not up to date in terms of the internet, right? So could that, in those types of use cases where somebody's asking for things outside the bounds of like a report page and visual, I think there's even some tools out there that are like, we don't even need report visuals anymore, right? Like just ask your question and we'll give you the answer in visual format. I mean, a mix of that could also be, something that is extremely valuable, right? Because how many of I think where it really extends to me is potentially on the data side. I'm a sales guy. I'm going to do my, quarterly business review for this company. Here's the metrics I need to, show them. And it rips through the data set, not necessarily a Power BI model, right? It's just the one lake data sources. And okay, here's the company, here's the things, here's the metrics, bam, here's your answer.
Interesting.
Right.
Very interesting. I think your feature is touching on something I'm also going to throw some money at here in a little bit as well.
You better hurry up because we're running out of time.
And you're out of money, so we can keep going here.
I am out of money.
So Seth's done talking.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna throw down. I'll give kind of like my next two items because I think I'm behind everyone else on spend at this point. So, I'm gonna do better debugging and experiences around the notebook experience inside Fabric. I'm gonna throw $20 at that one. I think notebooks and the massive parallel processing that comes along with them is a game changer. I really like writing notebooks. If I had to write notebooks in Python over SQL statements, I like using SQL inside notebooks. So the Spark version of SQL. So I like writing that, but I really enjoy writing in the notebook experience more so than in a SQL script. The SQL script is this, one long text file thing that you get. And I really like the idea of notebooks where I can execute a command one at a time and kind of evaluate, clean up, look. So I really like that experience. It's just very frustrating to me because when I've done a little bit of testing around it and I'm still trying to get my head around it. Sometimes when you're trying to create a temporary view, like a temp view or a view that lives on the machine, and you try to write that view back down to the lake or create another table, some of the commands didn't seem like they were working correctly, and I had the wrong kind of data frame, and it was not letting me write the data back down. So I was like, I needed better debugging, better indicators to me, like what did I do wrong? Help guide me a bit more. What code should I be using here? And I think to your point, Seth, the AI feature that you're pointing at would also very much greatly assist me inside the notebook creation. Like, hey, I see you're trying to write the data down. Here's a piece of sample code that would help you write the table back down to the lake. Like, give me AI there as well. But that whole debugging experience, whether it's AI driven or not, there needs to be better language there. There needs to be better information inside the notebook experience and like what is wrong and why is it taking so long, or what are the problems with your code, either in Python or SQL, whatever you're writing there. What's the challenge? What was the issue that was making a mistake there? Help me understand what that problem is. Because if we're talking about notebooks, we're clearly talking about developers. That is a developer experience, and you've got to make that experience top notch and easy to use. So that would be where I would throw another $20, and I'll throw in one more feature here. I'm going to throw $30 in what I'm going to borrow directly from Databricks, this thing called the Unity Catalog, or Master Data Services, or Data Lineage. And Tommy, you already talked about you're going to throw some money at Data Lineage as well. I'm throwing a lot of money at this one, right? I think this is a very important feature. And to your point, Tommy, as the workspace gets more crowded with artifacts and things, I'm seeing the workspace now becomes this rat's nest of random data that's moving in and out and all over the. You can connect anything to anything anymore. I can go use a data flow, pick it up from a lake. I can do some transformations, and I can put it back down the same lake, or a different lake, or into a SQL server, or wherever else we want to put it. There is so many possibilities now. People are going to have a hard time just figuring out where did this data come from and where did I apply the business logic in this process. So I really think we need better documentation. We need better, to your point, Seth, around data stewardship and ownership of data. This is where I would put that. I would put that in this Unity catalog that has every table with descriptions of columns, with all the measures where they go, and then I want full lineage from the raw bronze level data. If you're talking medallion architecture, I want bronze all the way to a visual. Like, give me the full lineage. Here's where all this data came from, and I want to trace it back. I want to go from this visual, these measures, this column, back to this data set, back to these tables, back all the way through. I should be able to very quickly diagnose where all that information came from. Yeah. And I think that's a huge confidence booster for the business user. So even though I need it as a developer, we're starting to see things now that are called, I guess, Tommy, we looked at it, it's called impact analysis.
Yeah.
So that's stuff that's starting to appear. I want more of that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So those are my next two features. So
I like that a lot, just because if anybody in the data realm knows that like documenting things all along the way
pain.
is a challenge because it gets stale.
Oh my God.
Right. But at the same time, like
it needs to auto update.
with AI, you
Yeah.
could have like the pipeline and then interjected things of like, hey, there's transforms that happen here. Here's
Yes.
what happens. Here's the and
Totally.
and make that a business level like description. Because if
Correct.
you think about us as developers, when you're talking to somebody on the phone, you're looking at the code and they're
Yep.
saying like, well, what is it doing? Well, and as you're reading the code, you're like, okay, well, what we're
Interpreting
doing
it.
is we're taking this account and then
Yep.
we're removing all of these and then we're adding this and
filtering
you
out
have
that
to-
and adding
you
in
have
this.
to have this thing and
Yep.
blah blah blah. And
Yep.
and the business person's like, oh no, that's not right. You need to have this and this and this, right? But at the same time, like AI is definitely
That's where
capable of
that's
being
where it's
like,
great.
right.
Explain
like,
this measure. Show me this
the
yeah.
data sources,
100%.
with all the transformations in
Yes.
a way people can easily digest. Like
Exactly.
and
That's
it gets
to me.
auto
That's
updated. That's
Yeah.
like the bee's knees.
to me. That's a low hanging fruit right now that AI should just definitely pick up
Yeah.
and just handle that for me, so
Yeah.
that way I don't have to write documentation.
Solve my documentation problem. Jeez.
Yeah, and just to have it automated every time I publish a change, it knows what changed and just spits out the next, the new definition of whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
We're already getting Copilot. GitHub's doing a preview of automatic Git commit messages, like AI generated messages.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
get
it's coming.
The tool that I use for note taking has this idea with databases, but it's like auto summarized pages. We can do this with tables. We can put a little prompts, and I agree. That's a good one. So that's your you got 30 left. So I'll do my last one.
Yeah, you do your last one. I got one more after this one, Tommy. So you do your next one. What's your next one here, Tommy?
I am throwing the rest of my budget,
$30
to the Dataflow Gen 2 experience. If they leave Gen 1 in the dust, so be it.
I'm with you on that one. I'm all behind this one. I like data. Gen 2, holy smokes.
Mhm.
Really good. It just is it just to me feels a bit too slow still, and they need to make it like massive parallel processing like we would with the notebooks. Like if they can do that part of it, I'll be very impressed with it. I really like all the capabilities with Gen 2. I agree with you 100% on this one.
Can they please tell me how append or replace works? Because right now I don't think it does. Or make that
Clearer.
yeah. So because
Yes.
or how can I configure the Power Query? Because we were creating something, I did append and it was like, oh, I have 18 duplicates right now of the same page.
Like what the heck?
Yeah. So, but just making it faster, just making the UI a little better, just a little more space. I don't know, a desktop app or something. Cool.
Oh boy. No, let's not
telling
go
you,
there.
I've closed my browser 3 times. It just crashed. We got other tabs.
That's because you have too many tabs open. Just put one or two tabs. All you need is, Power Query tab, Data Flows tab, Data Model tab, Report Build tab. That's all you need. That's all you need anymore. That's it.
No way. Or you can exit out of it or back. I don't want back buttons. I want something dedicated. Make it faster from the UI. Just make it because it's still a better experience to edit and build in
Agree.
desktop.
Yes.
From copy and pasting to editing it, move a little faster. So if you can give me that experience in the web, or just freaking let me just do the Dataflow Gen 2 in desktop and push it. I don't care, but make it faster. Help me with the pushing to other sources, but keep it going, man. So I think that is going to be the future of Fabric.
So I'll give you my last $30 here, and this is again a very developer centric thought on this one. It's not as much UI or front end. But again, I think Fabric is trying to push more towards the data scientist and the developer, anyways. I'm throwing $30 down on Git and deeper integration with all the artifacts that are created inside the Fabric workspace. Like I've done the Git integration currently. I can see that I can get a data set and a report. Those are both being updated, but I want Tyndall on all things inside the data model. Like I want the whole data model to be Tyndalled, right? So it's easier for me to edit that and have that being checked in or out of Git with Tyndall. And then I want a report definition. Like I can see it now with a PBIP project, but I want a full make Tyndall come to the report side, do the same level of detail of all the artifacts that are in the report and manipulating that. Shameless plug. We in our Power BI theme generator, you now can not only build just a theme, you can also build a full report today. So I'm already very deeply involved with this PBIP world of things and very excited to have this PBIP evolve into a better thing, because we're already building today PBIP projects for you. You can build multiple pages of report. You can add your own backgrounds. You can do all kinds of other crazy things. And stay tuned, more new features coming out here in the near future that are going to make that experience even better for you to build your entire report without even touching desktop, which will be absolutely a game changer for anyone who wants to develop templates or repeatably building things over and over again. It's going to be huge. So
It's crazy cool.
all that being said, that would be where I would throw my last $30. And I think with that, we've all spent our money at this point.
I think we have done it.
All right.
Hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds. $300. And we have solved all of the major Power BI Fabric major issues and problems. Just kidding. Good luck, Microsoft. It's going to be hard for you to figure out which features to build next. You probably will take none of our ideas and throw them all in the trash can and build what you think is the best. It will be probably something totally different than what we're even thinking about. So with that, we really appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone who was listening to us today. I hope you have some ideas around this. If this was just kind of a fun conversation for us to kind of ramble about the different features and where we see the strengths and or weaknesses of Fabric at this point, it's still in preview. I'm very confident that a lot of these things are going to get fixed, and we're going to get better experiences around all this stuff as they continue to invest and develop in Fabric. I see this as being this is so much of an investment from Microsoft's side. I don't think that they're not going to walk away. Yeah. They're going to keep investing in it. This is the future of what's happening with Power BI and where we're going to go. So I think this is just going to continue to snowball and get better and better as we go here. So very pro Fabric. I like the experience. Still a little rough around the edges, but it's getting better. With that, Tommy, where else can you find the podcast?
You can find us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to subscribe, leave a rating. It helps us out a ton. You have a question, an idea, or a topic that you want us to talk about on a future episode, you can do so. Go to powerbi.tips/podcast.
Thank you. We'll see you all next time. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you next time in the next show.